hello. It is Thursday, October 26th. I wanted to actually get the date right this time after yesterday's mess up. Hey everybody, Ken Napzok, 20 minutes of coffee. Got the coffee up today. Get your Team Zuck mug in the Stream Elements store down below. Not a sponsor. This is one of those days, when you say, I'm going to start a show or I'm just talk about the world, and then stuff happens and you're like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. There's been a lot of that. We've I think, correctly, I wanted to just kind of let the world solve the problems of the Middle East in the last couple weeks, almost a month now. But I watch every day with it to try to educate myself as best I can. But it's let's talk about something silly instead of that. And then I very much have spent the last couple nights finding out a little bit more of who this Speaker of the House is, Mike Johnson. And there's some stuff out there that you can all see now. David McKay's here. David McKay in chat, watching live. By the way, if you're watching later, as most of you are, this is a public show later on. But if you want to be part of the live audience, interact with a man in a bathrobe, become a channel member. We do 2 shows a week at least, maybe right now. Who knows, 5? Maybe some weeks 1. I'm a man who likes to sleep. And the last couple, I was out late last night. I can't say where, but I had a lot of fun. And you look at you go to an event, and you tell yourself, or Grace and I last night told ourselves, we'll be here a couple hours. We'll be back by 10:30. And then you look at the clock, and it's 11:42. And you're like, oh, well, that's a good thing. You got just roll with that. Just roll with that. That means life has led you to a place of fun. And as we know with the news, especially the news that broke late in the day yesterday, life is not a guarantee. Life is precious. So if you can give yourself the freedom to put aside work, to put aside, the commitments that can be put aside and go have a fun night, I think we all deserve that every now and then. And as I was starting to say, these are one of those shows where it's like, how deep do you want to go in the news? And I'll just bring up as we transition to the web here. The main shooting suspect is a skilled marksman, an outdoorsman, former Army Reserve. And as far as I know, let's get this update going here. They're still looking for him. I went to bed last night. I thought maybe there was some false footage out there of Robert Card, the suspect, 40, man who had some mental health issues in the last a few months. There's a story on that in here. So a lot of you probably seen it. He was one of the best shooters in his Army Reserve unit. Maine has, as a lot of people are tweeting, harder to get Sudafed in Maine than it is to get a gun. All those kind of things. And I, like all of you, heartbroken, sad. I have some thoughts. I have some prayers. But I've spoken about this on the Blathering before. There's nothing more a man in a bathrobe and a beanie here on a Thursday morning can say that's going to change the hearts of those that think this is okay, or that can soothe the hearts of those like me who think this is shouldn't be the normal. But it is the norm. It is the norm. I go into Targets, my Target shopping center. I go to a couple of them, and every time I'm in there, I absolutely think, where am I going when the shots start? That comes from my old job when I was a security director for a long time at a mall, 2 major malls in L.A. There's only so much we could do in providing the illusion of public safety. There's only so much. So much is just on the trust of the goodwill of people. So I would drive to work and think, what happens? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? What can I do in those situations? And it's a reality that I think we here in America all live in. And I'm not here to debate it. I want sensible gun control. I'm not one of those. We're not going to go door to door and yank the weapons out of your cold dead hands. We can't. That's just not realistic. I'm not even referring to the Second Amendment. It's not realistic. Even if we as a country voted for that, that's not going to happen. This is where we're at. We have to deal with where we're at, and we have to make it better going forward. I have my friends who do the. Because I have a lot of gun owner friends, and I have 1% of problem with them. But they always look at me and they well, gun violence is really just mental health problems. It's just that's the actual problem, and they say it very smug and like they've just kind of got the great insight to the situation, but they don't want to fix it. These politicians in these states, they don't want to fix it. Kingsport Cal is here. Says, Ken, you woke me up for this with a wink. Yeah. You know, we all get woken up by this. But yeah, so I don't want to belabor it. There's that meme that goes around of, gun violence and thoughts and prayers. We got to do something, this and that, back to normal, and we do it all over again. I don't think that's correct anymore. I think this is just something we all live with now. And yeah, Cal, it is a bummer. His family's urging him to surrender. This ain't 18 killed now, and it'll happen again. That's why I'm not going to go on a camera and scream and point and yell at people who don't want any kind of gun control. And the school shooting 2012 was the one that started to change me politically. Where I'm like, I can have a conversation about rights and what the Second Amendment really means, what it meant then and what it might mean now. But is this what you want? You don't even want to engage with any kind of thoughts beyond this? I don't know. I was going to try to go into some of the stuff with Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who is, now that we know more about him, he's a problem. But you know what? You see him, I got the Twitter screen up. Kingsport Cal. What do you think about this? I do want to have a conversation about this. This will be my thumbnail. I'm a Beatle fan. Oh, I don't follow the official account of John Lennon. Let's do that. There you go, John. Yoko and I doing this for peace. All right. Now and Then, the last Beatles song, out 2/11/23. This is from Sir Paul McCartney, and we got this story over here too. This is the choice we all face. I googled then and now Beatles. Here's the top stories. Beatles released final song. The last new Beatles song from AP News. Pitchfork, former rival to the Pitchfork's former rival to the website I used to write for, tinymixtapes.com, but Pitchfork defeated us soundly. Why I'm not writing music articles anymore. The Beatles' final song announced by ABC News and The Guardian. Here's the choice we all face. Maddie Gunner's in chat, our UK correspondent. This is 211, my lucky number. Not 311. 211. 2/11/23. Go out prepared for that eventuality. What story do you choose? This is the problem we all have in life. Which one of these outfits is going to give you the best story? I'll go with AP News. I'm excited about this. This is I heard about this. A lot of us heard about this a bit ago. In fact, I was at the Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny premiere right before the SAG strike started. And I was talking with Scott Mance. A lot of you know Scotty Mance if you've been around my world for a while. And Scott Mance is, I'm a Beatles fan. Kingsport Cal in live chat. This is why you got to become a channel member. Kingsport Cal is interpreting my reference to and bad humming of their song down as scorn from me towards 311. And Kingsport Cal says 311 is how I learned to play guitar. Watch yourself. Look, I'm not a huge 311 fan. I'm not a huge 311 fan, Kingsport Cal. But if you like them and they helped you learn guitar, I like them. I used to play them on the radio a lot back at the K-Bear days. But Scott Manson and I talked about this, and we talked about this right before the movie started. And the thing about this, we talked about, this is with the help of artificial intelligence. You've heard of it. It's called AI. It's out there a lot. Have you heard of AI? I don't know if you've heard anything about it. 60 years after the onset of Beatlemania, and with two of the quartet now dead, all right, too soon, David Bowder, artificial intelligence is enabled the release next week of what is promised to be the last new Beatles song. Well, why is he saying enabled to release next week, but it's 2/11/23? Is there something I'm missing? Let me go to our Matty Gunner, our UK correspondent. Is the song being released, and then there's a documentary or something going on? So the conversation around AI is always an interesting one, and it's an important one. And Scott Manson and I talked about that at the time. I am someone who wants to be cautious of how we use AI, but I also really believe that AI is here and that we can't change that. And AI has been here, right? To me, AI also includes, if you go to Google and start typing in words and the sentence pops up, there's some artificial intelligence behind that there. Yep. Madigan says, nope, as soon as you said it's AI generated, nope, keep it involved. No, see, this is my point. This is, to me, a great use of AI. This is what AI should be done. This is not replacing art. This is enabling art. A great example of this is director Peter Jackson, as it says here in the article, is the one who helped this, is separating Lennon's original vocals from piano used in the late 70s, because it's a bad recording. This song, this is what Scott Manson and I were talking about, this song already existed. Lennon had, I think, wrote this song. Yoko had 3 songs, Real Love, Free as a Bird, and this one, that they felt they could maybe use, and this is in the mid-'90s, in the great Beatles doc that came out, the Beatles Anthology. And they did Free as a Bird, which I actually like. Great guitar from George Martin in that. George Martin and George Harrison. And George Martin's help, they got those songs going. Real Love, I actually think it's great. But they couldn't. The recording of Now and Then wasn't good enough, or whatever. I don't know if the song was called Now and Then, but they couldn't use it. It was too. The piano and the vocals were too combined, probably on a cassette tape or whatever it was, or a reel. So they couldn't use it. Well, now they can use it, and Peter Jackson used this kind of AI to help him with his great doc that's out there on a streaming service you might want to choose to pay for if you want, because Iger needs a new boat. And I do pay for it, and I do love that dog. So this is my point, and a lot of you are making great points in chat. King Sport Cow says computer cannot make human emotion. Yeah, 100%. AI is used as a substitute for creativity by so many people, and that's not to me, that's not the case. This is what Scott Manson and I talked about the last time we were around each other, this mid-June. You're taking something that already existed. It's already been created by John Lennon. And you're plucking out the parts, the vocals that you can use and build a song around it. As the article on the AP News says here, the survivors packed plenty into it. The new single contains guitar that Harrison had recorded nearly 3 decades ago, probably when they were trying to make the song here for Anthology. A new drum part by Ringo Starr. Richie, our friend Richie, with McCartney's bass, piano, and slide guitar solo he had as a tribute to Harrison, who died, of course, in 2001, November 2001. A sad day in many lives of ours as fans, but that was a day I cried on the top of a parking structure for hours. And McCartney and Starr sang backup. McCartney also had a stringer arrangement written with the help of Giles Martin, son of the late Beatles producer George Martin. What's this here? Let's just keep reading. This is what 20 Minutes of Coffee is. As if it wasn't enough, because I'd be doing this with their cameras are rolling on. They weaved in backing vocals from the original Beatles recordings of Here, There, and Everywhere, Eleanor Rigby, and Because. There it was, John's voice crystal clear, McCartney said in the announcement. It's quite emotional. We all play on it. It's a genuine Beatles recording. In 2023, to still be working on Beatles music and about to release a new song that the public hasn't heard, I think it's quite an exciting thing. Harrison's widow, Olivia, said George, felt in the 1990s that the technical problems made it impossible to release a song that met the band's standards. With the improvements, he would have wholeheartedly joined Paul and Ringo in completing the song now if he were still alive, she said. Next Wednesday, the day before the song's release, a 12-minute film that tells the story of the new recording will be made public. Later the month, expanded versions of the Beatles compilations 1962-1966, which I owned on cassette, and 67 and 1970, which I owned on cassette, will be released. Now and then, despite coming much later than 1970, will be added to the later collection. There you go. Purchase. So there you go. I am for it. And it seems like Maddie, Gunnar, and I are going to go to a pub, and we're going to debate this. If a full band were still alive with us, I'd be more okay with it, but because we're not, I feel ick. Maddie, I think you have the right to feel ick, but my bigger overriding issue is AI is a powerful tool when used correctly. I use AI to help structure some research that I do. Google has an AI button, and I felt weird about the first time I clicked on it. I was like, well, I'm supposed to be fighting AI. I don't use the AI things that generate paintings. I don't use. I don't type in write me a novel. That's a substitute for creativity. But I have a friend who uses it to organize his resumes. AI, I think, could eventually help people with physical obstacles, sight issues, hearing issues. Who knows? The ability to not type. I think there's some powerful uses for AI. That's not all going to end in the Gareth Edwards film. The problem I have, as with anything, disruptors, so-called disruptors, can get a hold of this stuff, and how they use it is the problem, and how they use it to secure their own power is the problem. That's what's going on with the studios. There's that clip going around. Kingsport Gal says, I'm not afraid of our new robot overlords. I, for one, would like to praise our new robot overlords. Brian Tiller's here. Speaking of music, we'll talk about that here. Anyways, I think you know where I mean and where I'm going with it. And 20 minutes of coffee might be 25 minutes of coffee here today. I'm not here to take away Maddie Gunner's ick. I'm not here to take away anyone's ick about AI. We should be concerned about it. What's going on with the studios right now is they want to replace, it's a cost-cutting measure. It doesn't help the art. It hinders the art. It takes away money from people who are working. It destroys the industries. And even just outside of AI, you see this happen time and time again, where something comes along that is an improvement. To me, Uber and Lyft were improvements in how we can get rides, how we can get transportation, how we can reach them, contact them, track them, how we can pay for it, how you can avoid a DUI that would change your life or end someone else's life. You have no excuses if you have an Uber and a Lyft app. I thought that was all great stuff. I kept saying all the time, and I'm not the only one, cab companies are upset, but they didn't adjust. There's hardly an app you can find that you can get a cab. There was one in London I worked, and it was great. I forget, Maddie Gunner, I remember. I got my black cabs showing up in London, and some red cabs, I think, too. There's one, every time I'm in New York, it's called Curb. I use it, and it doesn't work properly. And most of the time, if it does work, I don't get a cab. I get an Uber driver. If the cab companies adjusted with it, they'd still be competing, if not exceeding, because I'd rather get in a cab. It's a professional driver, allegedly. The cabbie I had in London from the convention center to the airport, Grayson I took, he was one of the best tour guides I've ever experienced. I tipped him 40 pounds. 40 pounds, Matty Gunner. We got to the airport. We got to Heathrow. And we get out, and he was, it's a long drive. It was like an hour-plus drive in traffic. And he took us around all these spots. He told us all his history. Great conversation. And we got out, and he took our suitcases out. And I said, hey, this is for you. And it was 40 pounds. And he said, no, we don't know, because we had a conversation about a living wage in UK, and that's why there's not a lot of tipping in UK. And I'd run into that at the bars where I was trying to tip bartenders, and they were just like, I can't take your money. And I said, you have to. I said, I would have paid for you to give me that tour. And so American and UK relations were strong that day when I gave him that. But these things disrupt and they change things for the better, but then powers that be get it, control it, they make money off of it. And next thing you know, and there's other factors, particularly in the rideshare business with gas, fuel prices, all that kind of stuff. And the whole entire industry is destroyed. Uber and Lyft, I don't know where it is in your spot. You can't get it. You can't get a Lyft hardly. I've had Lyft drivers cancel on me in front of my house. It's hard to find an Uber. It's more expensive. And that whole industry is destroyed. And I think time and time again that happens. And AI is, to me, that thing. There was that clip going around recently of, I think, a Disney Plus show where there's some cheerleaders cheering and they pan to the crowd and there's like very fake people like doing this. And it looks very bad. It's bad. And people kept thinking, see, this is what the studios want to do. They kept saying, I think correctly, they want to replace extras with this and how immoral that is. And I do think so. I do think that's true. And it would take pay out of people's pockets. But that also had to do with Disney cutting short the amount of probably time and money that they were allowed, that these productions were allowed to put into the post-production, special effects, visual effects. So you have underpaid, overworked staff doing that. So that's all they're going to give you is a lifeless body clapping. But this isn't new, right? We're all fans of Lord of the Rings going back to Peter Jackson. And every one of those orcs and every one of those elves that were fighting in the big battles weren't real. The close-up orcs were. That film series is correctly praised for the amount of practical things they do in it until they get to The Hobbit and things change a little bit. But even then, there's a lot of practical stuff in there. But even as early as Fellowship of the Rings, and it wasn't 2,000 orc extras. It's computer generated. Artificial, if you will. We didn't fight it then because I think it was used correctly. It was used to enhance the story. It was used because without it, that art wouldn't have been possible. But designers were behind it, and they had the time to create. So that's kind of the difference. How does this stuff get used? Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr being able to record with John Lennon's actual vocals that have been cleaned up and separated from a cassette tape from the 1970s, to me is an okay thing. It's technology helping us have art that we would not have otherwise. And the original people are there. It's not a computer of John Lennon. You can go type, I'm a big Oasis fan, as you know. You can go type AIasis, basically, I think what it is. And it's someone's generated a complete Oasis album. And I listened to some of it. And, you might be able to trick me on the fly that it's Liam and Noel and they recorded more music. But then you can zero in on it, and it is a little lifeless. It is a little computer generated, and it is the problem. King Sportcow says, times change. Who reads a physical newspaper anymore? And that's just kind of where I come in. And so I'm celebrating this Beatles tune. That's where I'm at. Matty Gunner shoots back to me and says, I guess my biggest problem is how the tech firms, Spotify, have already damaged the music industry enough, and a big enough act like the Beatles using to open the door for who knows what. I don't disagree with that at all. King Sportcow says we have computers in our pockets tracking everything. We do. Yeah, to your point, Matty Gunner, I'm sorry for the delayed response to it there. I actually really agree with you. Again, that's to my point. Like I pay for Spotify Premium. I use it to fuel my show, Pop Rock and Radio. I could probably use Apple Music, but it's a little easier to create Spotify playlists and share those playlists and all that kind of stuff. And Spotify, I think, has also destroyed the industry. It's helping artists get heard. Hey, the Moonagers, we are releasing our song on Spotify and many other spots. Check it out. We'd love to get 3 cents for 2 million plays. But that's the problem. Spotify is a great piece of tech, including the AI algorithm kind of thing in it. I've discovered a lot of music that I would not have heard. I've discovered a lot of new artists that I would never have heard if not for the Spotify algorithm pointing me in that direction. You like this, you might like this. And it works. So that, to me, is a good use of it. But to Maddie's bigger point, it's actually absolutely destroyed this industry. You cannot break bands like you used to. A struggling artist cannot get paid. And this story, and I haven't read all the story of Spotify now saying for lower less popular artists, the pay is going to be lower. That's a problem. It's so hard to break. We're in this algorithm-dominated society. So even though I think an algorithm is a good thing in helping you discover things that you would not get, it's also absolutely destroying. The disruption that so many tech bros and former owners of Collider brag about. The disruption often just destroys so many things around it. Kingsport Cow says, there's no space in my brain for new music. I like what I like. And you know what, then? You're living a good life, Cal. 311 records to the end of time. So, like anything, two sides to the coin. My opinion is just that. In my opinion, I'm a man in a bathrobe. As Bo, the fifth column, says, it's just a thought. I'm going to celebrate this Beatles thing, and we'll see where it takes us. And yeah, Maddie, to your point, if suddenly there's a mourner song and someone took your vocals and they created it from scratch and they used AI to do it, and it kind of sort of sounds like you, but you had nothing to do with it, and the lyrics are lifeless, that's a problem. That's a problem. But to me, we can find some common ground on this. It's not going away. How we use it, how we pay attention to it, just like guns. I'm not making a small jokey joke connecting it back to that horrible story. The guns in America aren't going away overnight. How best can we go forward with it? How best can we keep those things out of those who shouldn't have them, those who shouldn't have the right to have them, or those who just maybe aren't in a mental position to have them? And how do we go forward? We are not the only country with mental health issues. We are not the only country full of hurting people. But yet we are the only one that now this year has over 560 mass shooting events. How do we deal with the now, and how do we best go forward is the best way to look at it. Speaking of music, David McKay, live in chat. You can be live in chat too, but becoming a channel member if you're watching later on. Says, make space for the Moon Agers, Kingsport Cal. November 3rd. I still haven't made all my graphics are formatted. All my promotional Moon Ager stuff is what am I trying to say? Is formatted for another system, Instagram. I got to fix some of that stuff and get it up and load it into this computer. I have 3 computers that I work on, and it gets confusing. I need AI's help. Moon Agers, our first single, Tell Me, is coming out November 3rd. Pre-order is this Friday on Bandcamp, and I think you can do a pre-save on Spotify. But if you don't use Spotify, I actually really understand. Don't worry about it. Go to Bandcamp and go to places like Bandcamp. And as we go into overtime on the show today, Bandcamp is another example of something that helped change the industry, helped independent artists, particularly in the music business. And now that's going to start struggling because they sold it. And, you start a company and you sell it. I'm totally fine with that. I have my company, Morning Drive Media, producers of fine shows like this, 20 Minutes of Coffee, or the Blathering Conversations, new Blathering Conversation out later today with the comedian Kyle Lewis. If someone comes along and says, we'd like to buy it, I'm gonna listen. And if it's a good enough number, I'm cashing out, and I'm going to go visit Maddie Gunner in England, and we're going to get that Moon Angels Mourner 2024 tour going. I might go play some Powerball today and make this all happen too. We can all dream. But Bandcamp is been sold now twice over. Songtrader knows it. Yeah, they laid off 50% of their staff, and you might, and I think you will start seeing some changes. Kingsport House says, I heard some shady beep about Bandcamp right after about your album. Yeah, they laid off these people, and here's the thing: I'll expose the numbers. My comedy album, which of course, as you know, is In My Day, live from the Harrison Pub in London, produced and engineered by Maddie Gunner and Matt Hart. If you listen to it on Apple, and several thousand people, I'm happy to report, have listened to it on Spotify and Apple. I don't know the earnings from that yet. I won't know the earnings from that. And again, 4,000 combined views is not going to be a lot. I won't know the earnings from that for 2 to 3 months. And then my payout might be 2 to 3 months after that. So any money earned from that, Apple and Spotify, Amazon Music, any other spot I put it on, I won't see that money till midway through 2024. And it's probably going to be 75 cents. I can't tell. Could be $1.25. Woo! I'm going to go to Johnson City, Tennessee, and Kingsport, Tennessee on that $1.25 ticket. But with Bandcamp, I'm selling a special edition album for $10. You can choose to pay more if you want. I'm selling it for $10. On average, what I see from each sale is about $7.97 to $8.10 if you just buy it at the $10 price every time. And I have access to that money right away to pay bills, to not buy a Jaguar, to drive cross-country to Kingsport, Cal. Bandcamp is how a lot of artists survive. It disrupted the business in a good way. It made it possible to make money on art. It made it possible to maybe not see all your dreams realized, but to take big steps towards it. That's in danger now. That's in danger. And because that might leave only places like Apple and Spotify, things I both use, as the only place I could easily, through the wonderful folks at DistroKid, love working with DistroKid. Shout out to Mike Fink over there. That might be the only avenue to get it out, and I'll make my 75 cents 6 months from now versus the $8 I can make today. Yeah, and Matty Gunner points out they don't take cuts from merch either, unlike Live Nation. And merch is a big way to make some money. This goes for the big bands, too. I won't go into the details of what I know, but, you know, I've friends with Eric Bass from the band Shinedown, and they always joke that, you know, the little tiny pocket in your jeans where you might put a quarter is where you put all your Spotify earnings. And he said, merch, touring, live shows. It's the only way we can really make money these days. I won't go into any more details than that. And they're doing great. Shinedown, I saw a show last year. Was never overly familiar with Shinedown or their music until I met and worked with Eric Bass on GPA. And they put on one hell of a effing show. And they have a great dedicated fan base. And they're doing it, you know. They're one of the biggest bands out there. They're a record-setting band. But it's hard in this day and age to even know that because it's all buried in the algorithm of Spotify and Apple. But it's all merch, playing live. Moon Agers are not a live band. We'll have to form a band to open up for Warner. But anyways, that's the danger. And that all ties to me back to the AI conversation, back to the gun conversation. We have these things for better or worse. How best can we use them? How can we discover the best ways to use them? It's never a clear-cut answer. But hey, if it ends up with a Beatles song, I think I'm okay with it. All right, bonus time. We went long today. Thanks for listening live. Shout out to Kingsport Cal in Kingsport, Tennessee. Matty Gunner, our UK correspondent. David McKay checking in. And anyone else that I may have missed, scrolling back. Brian Tiller was in chat. He's probably working hard today. Probably singing some vocals. We got one more track to lay down for our album. Our 7-song EP that I can reveal, as I did on Instagram. The title of it is Broken Pieces and What Remains. And that's coming out some point in December, but 11/3/23 is when our first song, Tell Me, comes out to the world. All right? Thank you for listening later. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. Help me make up for the 15 or so subscribers I've lost since probably talking too much about the Speaker of the House race. Subscribe, notify yourself that the videos and live things are happening. Check out all the streams. We got football stream from yesterday. I might just stream the Super Bowl later today. Who knows? And thanks for supporting what I do over here. It's 20 minutes of coffee. It's a man hanging out, looking at the world. Thanks for watching. Bye.